Hello and welcome to Through the Bible with Yolanda Worldwide. So glad you are jumping on, regardless of when you do. This is a premiere, so if you jumped on at a later time from when it was premiered, I hope you go ahead and give me a hashtag replay in the public comments and let me know where you joined in from. If you are brand new to Yolanda Worldwide on YouTube, please take a moment to go ahead and click that subscribe button right now and enable the notifications, your notifications, by clicking on the little bell so that you don't miss anything in the future. Before we go too far, I hope that you had a chance to watch Morning Stir with Yolanda Worldwide, which is also here on this channel in the live section. I am so incredibly blessed to be ministering to you in these two ways. Just in case you did not know, I am reading through the entire Bible in the message version this year, and you're just at the beginning of it. If you missed any part of me reading through the Bible, you can go to the playlist Through the Bible, and you will find everything archived there in order. But for today, we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. And y'all, it has been getting good. We are up to chapter 14. We're 3 days in, and we're up to chapter 14 in the book of Genesis. We will be reading from Genesis to Revelation in order by books in the Bible. And it is going to be absolutely incredible. So let's go ahead and dive in for the sake of time. And FYI, these will not be super long. I'm only going to be reading 20 to 25 minutes each day and just jumping on to the next. So let's dive into the reading of the word right now. Chapter 14. Then this Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Eleazar, Kedar Lamor, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, went off to war to fight Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor. This second group of kings, the attacked, came together at the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. They had been under the thumb of Kedar Lamor for 12 years. In the 13th year, they revolted. In the 14th year, Kedar Lamor and the kings allied with him set out and defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth, Karnim, the Zuzim in Ham, and Emim in Sheva, Kiriathim, and the Horites in their hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran, on the far edge of the desert. On their way back, they stopped at in Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and conquered the whole region of the Amalekites, as well as that of the Amorites, who lived in Hazazon Tamar. That's when the king of Sodom marched out with the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor. They drew up in battle formation against their enemies in the valley of Siddim, against Kedar Lamor, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Eleazar, 4 kings against 5. The valley of Siddim was full of tar pits. When the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, they fell into the tar pits, but the rest escaped into the mountains. The 4 kings captured all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their food and equipment, and went on their way. They captured Lot, Abram's nephew, who was living in Sodom at the time, taking everything he owned with them. A fugitive came and reported to Abram the Hebrew. Abram was living at the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and Aner. They were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his nephew had been taken prisoner, he lined up his servants, all of them born in his household. There were 318 of them, and chased after the captors all the way to Dan. Abram and his men split into small groups and attacked them by night. They chased them as far as Hobah, just north of Damascus. They recovered all the plunder along with nephew Lot and his possessions, including the women and the people. After Abram returned from defeating Kedar Lamor and his allied kings, the king of Sodom came out. Sorry about that. The king of Sodom came out to greet him in the valley of Sheva, the king's valley. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of the high God and blessed him. Blessed be Abram by the high God, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be the high God who handed your enemies over to you. Abram gave him a tenth of all the recovered plunder. The king of Sodom said to Abram, give me back the people, but keep all the plunder for yourself. But Abram told the king of Sodom, I swear to God, the high God, creator of heaven and earth, this solemn oath that I'll take nothing from you, not so much as a thread or a shoestring. I'm not going to have you go around saying, I made Abram rich, nothing for me other than what the young men ate and the share of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, there to get their share of the plunder. Chapter 15. After all these things, this word of God came to Abram in a vision. Don't be afraid, Abram. I'm your shield. Your reward will be grand. Abram said, God, Master, what use are your gifts as long as I'm childless and Eliezer of Damascus is going to inherit everything? Abram continued, see, you've given me no children, and now a mere house servant is going to get it all. Then God's message came, don't worry, he won't be your heir. A son from your body will be your heir. Then he took him outside and said, look at the sky, count the stars. Can you do it? Count your descendants. You're going to have a big family, Abram. And he believed God, and God declared him set right with God. God continued, I'm the same God who brought you from Ur of the Chaldees and gave you this land to own. Abram said, Master God, how am I to know this? That it will all be mine. God said, bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, and a dove and a young pigeon. He brought all these animals to him, split them down the middle, and laid the halves opposite each other. But he didn't split the birds. Vultures swooped down on the carcasses, but Abram scared them off. As the sun went down, a deep sleep overcame Abram, and then a scene of dread, dark and heavy. God said to Abram, know this, your descendants will live as outsiders in a land not theirs. They'll be enslaved and beaten down for 400 years. Then I'll punish their slave masters. Your offspring will march out of there loaded with plunder, but not you. You'll have a long and full life and die a good and peaceful death. Not until the fourth generation will your descendants return here. Sin is still a thriving business among the Amorites. When the sun was down and it was dark, a smoking firepot and a flaming torch moved between the split carcasses. That's when God made a covenant with Abram. I'm giving this land to your children from the Nile River in Egypt to the river Euphrates in Assyria, the country of the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephaim, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. Chapter 16. Sarai, Abram's wife, hadn't yet produced a child. She had an Egyptian maid named Hagar. Sarai said to Abram, God has not seen fit to let me have a child. Sleep with my maid. Maybe I can get a family from her. Abram agreed to do what Sarai said. So Sarai, Abram's wife, took her Egyptian maid Hagar and gave her to her husband Abram as a wife. Abram had been living 10 years in Canaan when this took place. He slept with Hagar and she got pregnant. When Hagar learned she was pregnant, she looked down on her mistress. Sarai told Abram, "It's all your fault that I'm suffering this abuse. I put my maid in bed with you, and the minute she knows she's pregnant, she treats me like I'm nothing. May God decide which of us is right." My God. You decide, Abram. Your maid is your business. Sarai was abusive to Hagar, and Hagar ran away. An angel of God found her beside a spring in the desert. It was the spring on the road to Shur. He said, "Hagar, maid of Sarai, what are you doing here?" She said, "I'm running away from Sarai, my mistress." The angel of God said, "Go back to your mistress. Put up with her abuse." He continued, "I'm going to give you a big family, children past counting. From this pregnancy, you'll get a son. Name him Ishmael, for God heard you. God answered you. He'll be a bucking bronco of a man, a real fighter, fighting and being fought, always stirring up trouble, always at odds with his family." She answered God by name, praying to God, the God who spoke to her, "You're the God who sees me." Y'all, El Roi. Yes, he saw me, and then I saw him. That's how that desert spring got named God Alive Sees Me Spring. That spring is still there between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar gave Abram a son. Abram named him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar gave him his son Ishmael. Chapter 17. When Abram was 99 years old, God showed up and said to him, "I am the strong God. Live entirely before me. Live to the hilt. I'll make a covenant between us and I'll give you a huge family." Overwhelmed, Abram fell flat on his face. Then God said to him, "This is my covenant with you. You'll be the father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram, but Abraham, meaning that I'm making you the father of many nations. I'll make you a father of fathers. I'll make nations from you. Kings will issue from you. I'm establishing my covenant between me and you, a covenant that includes your descendants, a covenant that goes on and on and on, a covenant that commits me to be your God and the God of your descendants. And I'm giving you and your descendants this land where you're now just camping, this whole country of Canaan to own forever, and I'll be their God. God continued to Abraham, "And you will honor my covenant, you and your descendants, generation after generation. This is the covenant that you are to honor, the covenant that pulls in all your descendants. Circumcise every male, circumcised by cutting off the foreskin of the penis. It will be the sign of the covenant between us. Every male baby will be circumcised when he is 8 days old, generation after generation. This includes house-born slaves and slaves bought from outsiders who are not blood kin. Make sure you circumcise both your own children and anyone brought in from the outside. That way, my covenant will be cut into your body, a permanent mark of my permanent covenant. An uncircumcised male who one has not had the foreskin of his penis cut off will be cut off from his people. He has broken my heart. God continued speaking to Abraham, "And Sarai, your wife, don't call her Sarai any longer. Call her Sarah. I'll bless her. Yes, I'll give you a son by her. Oh, how I'll bless her. Nations will come from her. Kings of nations will come from her." Abraham fell flat on his face and then he laughed, thinking, "Can 100-year-old father a son? And can Sarah, at 90 years, have a baby?" Recovering, Abraham said to God, "Oh, keep Ishmael alive and well before you." But God said, "That's not what I mean. Your wife, Sarah, will have a baby, a son. Name him Isaac." Laughter. "I'll establish my covenant with him and his descendants, a covenant that lasts forever." And Ishmael's, yes, I heard your prayer for him. I'll also bless him. I'll make sure he has plenty of children, a huge family. He'll father 12 princes. I'll make him a great nation, but I'll establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will give you about this time next year. God finished speaking with Abraham and left. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael and all his servants, whether houseborn or purchased, every male in his household, and circumcised them, cutting off their foreskin. And that very day, just as God had told him, Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised. His son Ishmael was 13 years old when he was circumcised. Abraham and Ishmael were circumcised the same day, together with all the servants of his household, those born there and those purchased from outsiders, all were circumcised with him. Chapter 18. God appeared to Abraham at the oaks of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance of his tent. It was the hottest part of the day. He looked up and saw three men standing. He ran from his tent to greet them and bowed before them. He said, Master, if it please you, stop for a while with your servant. I'll get some water so you can wash your feet. Rest under this tree. I'll get some food to refresh you on your way, since your travels have brought you across my path. They said, Certainly, go ahead. Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. He said, Hurry, get 3 cups of our best flour, knead it, and make bread. Then Abraham ran to the cattle pen and picked out a nice plump calf and gave it to the servant, who lost no time getting it ready. Then he got curds of milk, brought them with the calf, and that had been roasted, set the meal before the men, and stood there under the tree while they ate. The men said to him, Where is Sarah, your wife? He said, In the tent. One of them said, I'm coming back about this time next year. When I arrive, your wife Sarah will have a son. Sarah was listening at the tent opening just behind the man. Abraham and Sarah were old by this time, very old. Sarah was far past the age for having babies. Sarah laughed within herself. An old woman like me get pregnant with this old man of a husband? God said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Me have a baby, an old woman like me? Is anything too hard for God? I'll be back about this time next year, and Sarah will have a baby. Sarah lied. She said, I didn't laugh because she was afraid. But he said, Yes, you did. You laughed. When the men got up to leave, they set off to Sodom. Abraham walked with them to say goodbye. Then God said, Shall I keep back from Abraham what I'm about to do? Abraham is going to become a large, strong nation. All the nations of the world are going to find themselves blessed through him. Yes, I've settled on him as the one to train his children and future family to observe God's way of life. Live kindly and generously and fairly so that God can complete in Abraham what he promised him. God continued, the cries of the victims in Sodom and Gomorrah are deafening. The sin of those cities is immense. I'm going down to see for myself, see if what they're doing is as bad as it sounds. Then I'll know. The men set out for Sodom, but Abraham stood in God's path, blocking his way. Abraham confronted him. Are you serious? Are you planning on getting rid of the good people right along with the bad? What if there are 50 decent people left in the city? Will you lump the good with the bad and get rid of the lot? Wouldn't you spare the city for the sake of those 50 innocents? I can't believe you do that. Kill off the good and the bad alike as if there were no difference between them. Doesn't the judge of all the earth judge with justice? God said, if I find 50 decent people in the city of Sodom, I'll spare the place just for them. Abraham came back. Do I, a mere mortal made from a handful of dirt, dare open my mouth again to my master? What if the 50 fall short by 5? Would you destroy the city because of those missing five? He said, I won't destroy it if there are 45. Abraham spoke up again. What if you only find 40? Neither will I destroy it if for 40. He said, Master, don't be irritated with me, but what if only 30 are found? No, I won't do it if I find 30. He pushed down. I know I'm trying your patience, Master, but how about for 20? I won't destroy it for 20. He wouldn't quit. Don't get angry, Master. This is the last time. What if you only come up with 10? For the sake of only 10, I won't destroy the city. When God finished talking with Abraham, he left and Abraham went home. Chapter 19. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening. Lot was sitting at the city gate. He saw them and got up to welcome them, bowing before them and said, Please, my friends, come to my house and stay the night. Wash up. You can rise early and be on your way refreshed. They said, No, we'll sleep in the street. But he insisted, wouldn't take no for an answer, and they relented and went home with him. Lot fixed a hot meal for them, and they ate. Before they went to bed, men from all over the city of Sodom, young and old, descended on the house from all sides and boxed them in. They yelled to Lot, Where are the men who are staying with you for the night? Bring them out so we can have our sport with them. Lot went out, barring the door behind him, and said, Brothers, please don't be vile. Look, I have two daughters, virgins. Let me bring them out. You can take your pleasure with them, but don't touch these men. They're my guests. They said, Get lost. You drop in from nowhere, and now you're going to tell us how to run our lives? We'll treat you worse than them. And they charged past Lot to break down the door. But the two men reached out and pulled Lot inside the house, locking the door. Then they struck blind the men who were trying to break down the door, both leaders and followers, leaving them groping in the dark. The two men said to Lot, Do you have any other family here, sons, daughters, anybody in the city? Get them out of here. And now we're going to destroy this place. The outcries of victims here to God and are deafening. We've been sent to blast this place into oblivion. Lot went out and warned the fiancés of his daughters, evacuate this place. God is about to destroy this city, but his daughters would be husbands treated it as a joke. At break of day, the angels push Lot to get going. Hurry, get your wife and two daughters out of here before it's too late and you're caught in the punishment of the city. Lot was dragging his feet. Then men grabbed Lot's arm and the arms of his wife and daughters. God was so merciful to them and dragged them to safety outside the city. When they had them outside, Lot was told, Now run for your life. Don't look back. Don't stop anywhere on the plain. Run for the hills or you'll be swept away. But Lot protested, No, masters, you can't mean it. I know that you've taken liking to me and have done me an immense favor in saving my life, but I can't run for the mountains. Who knows what terrible thing might happen to me in the mountains and leave me for dead? Look over there. That town is close enough to get to. It's a small town, hardly anything to it. Let me escape there and save my life. It's a mere wide place in the road. All right, Lot, if you insist, I'll let you have your way, and I won't stop you. I won't stamp out the town you've spotted, but hurry up, run for it. I can't do anything until you get there. That's why the town is called Zor. That is at Zor, that is small town. The sun was high in the sky when Lot arrived at Zor. Then God rained brimstone and fire down on Sodom and Gomorrah, a river of lava from God out of the sky, and destroyed these cities and the entire plain and everyone who lived in the cities and everything that grew from the ground. But Lot's wife looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. Abraham got up early the next morning and went to the place he he had so recently stood with God. He looked out over Sodom and Gomorrah, surveying the whole plain. All he could see was smoke belching from the earth like smoke from a furnace. And that's the story. When God destroyed the cities of the plain, he was he was mindful of Abraham and first got Lot out of there before he blasted those cities off the face of the earth. Lot left Zoar and went into the mountains to live with his two daughters. He was afraid to stay in Zoar. He lived in a cave with his daughters. One day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is getting old, and there's not a man left in the country by whom we can get pregnant. Let's get our father drunk with wine and lie with him. We'll get children through our father. It's our only chance to keep our family alive." They got their father drunk with wine that very night. The older daughter went and lay with him. He was oblivious, knowing nothing of what she did. The next morning, the older said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Tonight it's your turn. We'll get him drunk again, and then you sleep with him. We'll both get a child through our father and keep our family alive." So that night they got their father drunk again, and the younger went in and slept with him. Again, he was oblivious, knowing nothing of what she did. Isn't that something? What God delivered them out of and what they come up with in their mind? My God. Both daughters became pregnant by their father, Lot. The older daughter had a son and named him Moab, the ancestor of the present day Moabites. The younger daughter had a son and named him Ben Ami, the ancestor of the present day Ammonites. I'm going to stop right there. That was Genesis chapters 14 through 19. I hope you are enjoying through the Bible. Can't wait to get to Revelation. Again, if you're brand new, please go ahead and click the subscribe button right now and enable the notifications so that you don't miss anything by clicking on the little bell. I'll be with you because we are in the midst of 21 days of focused fasting for visitation. It is our Expecting Greater in 2025 fast. We will be together. Tomorrow, I will probably do the Bible readings every day, regardless of morning stir schedule is Monday through Friday. But I am so blessed to have you with me. I can't wait to go a little deeper tomorrow. For now, have an amazing day, and we'll see you tomorrow.